Okay, Prof, boleh kita start ke?
Ya.
Okay, alright. Okay, right. Is everybody here? Okay, good. I think we can start. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning, everyone. To bless our training this morning, let us all recite Surah Al-Fatihah. Al-Fatihah. Okay, Alhamdulillah, we get together this morning virtually in the academic training with the title High Impact Publication for Social Science with Prof. Ramayah Thurasamy, Profesor at Pusat Pengajian Pengurusan, Universiti Sains Malaysia USM. Okay, my name is Dr. Fatimah and I'm a lecturer at Fakulti of Business, Economics and Social Development UMT. Okay, today I will be serving as your moderator. Alright, so you will be hearing an academic training session from Prof. Ramayah on this very timely subject. But before we get started, I want to take a few minutes of your time. Okay, on behalf of everyone, I would like to express great gratitude to the Center for Talent Development and Innovation, PPBI UMT, for their efforts to provide us with timely topics and a very prominent speaker. Okay, so this session will introduce the participant to the world of publishing. Okay, the pressure to publish has become so intense that publishing has become a big business where it is now being exploited by many unscrupulous publishers who are flocking in droves to capitalize on the perils of many academics. As such, there is a need to know what publications get counted and what don't. Okay, this includes the kind of publication that is publishable and where they can be published. Okay, before we continue this session, I would like to inform you that we will be hearing the session from Prof. Ramayah, followed by Q&A session. If there are any questions, suggestions or views, please submit them in the chat room or you can unmute yourself. I also would like to remind all, please mute your microphone when not speaking. Okay, now moving along to our session, please welcome Prof. Ramayah Thurasamy, who will be speaking to us on high impact publication for social science. Ramayah is currently a Professor of Technology Management, School of Management, USM, Visiting Professor, Minjiang University, China, Daffodil International University, DIU, Bangladesh, UNIMAS, UKM, UITM, Adjunct Professor at Sunway University and UNITEN, Malaysia. He was also a Visiting Professor at King Saud University, Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, and Adjunct Professor at Multimedia University previously. He is also currently the Chief Editor of the AAMJ, which is ASEAN Academy of Management Journal, and Journal of Applied Structural Equation Modeling, JASM. He has an H index of 89 and citation of 33,278 in Google Scholar and I-10 index of 445. His H index in Scopus is 51 with 9,573 citations, while his H index is in ASI Clarivate is 38, okay, with 6,232 citation. He also serves on the editorial boards and program committee of several international journals and conference of repute. Okay, his full profile can be accessed from http://www.ramayah.com. Wow, we are so blessed that we have a very prominent speaker with us today. Alright, Prof, the platform is yours.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Nur Fatimah, for the introduction. So today we will be looking at this issue called publication. I think many of us are getting into this problem of publication. Most of the deans are actually coming around at the end of the year. Normally they look for how many papers you have published, whether you have published in Web of Science, whether you have published in Scopus, ERA, and so on. So this is part of the requirement now for an academic. Okay, so in different universities they have different requirement, but somehow there's a requirement for publication, even for a PhD. Those students who are doing PhD now, there's a requirement for publication, and the publishing process is publishing is actually a process. Many people don't understand this clearly. You have to first write your paper, and then you have to go through these gatekeepers. There are many of them here. We have the peer reviewer, we have the associate editor, we have the editor, we have the editorial board, we have the chief editor. There are so many people we have to get through. So somehow, when you write your paper, there must be certain contribution, and the research carried out must have certain rigor. That's a basic requirement for a paper to get accepted. Okay. Once you get accepted, you also have to think about how do I disseminate the paper already published. Sometimes we publish a paper, nobody reads, nobody cites. That's also not a good thing. But unfortunately, many of us are not getting into disseminating whatever we have already published. So some of the things I will discuss today will cover the how do we select a source to publish, how do we target a journal, how do we get it cited. Those are some of the things I will be discussing. So before we start, I've already shared the material using a Google Drive link. You can see on the chat. If not, the secretary will share to you. And you can start downloading. The slides are already there, so you don't have to worry about the slides. Okay, this is an interesting quote by Sir Ken Robinson. For most of us, the problem isn't that we aim too high and fail. It's just the opposite. We aim too low and succeed. So what it means is you write a good paper, but you submit to a not so good journal. So you get accepted as it is. That's actually a wrong move. So what we need to do is when you write a good paper, you must target a better quality paper. Because of this problem, if you see in 2021, the Ministry of Education were very unhappy that Malaysia came up as number 2 in physical sciences and social sciences. Physical sciences and social sciences as in the list of top 20 countries where their authors publish in predatory journal. What is meant by predatory journal is journals which you pay for, and they are problematic journals. There are also some journals that you pay for, but they are maintained very well. But these are journals which you submit after 1 week, they will tell you, congratulations, you paid 200, 300, 400, 500 US, and then you get it published within a month. Those are what we call as predatory journal. That's a criteria for assessing predatory journal. And interestingly, the number 1 and number 2 in physical sciences are Indonesia and Malaysia. In the social sciences, quite surprising that Albania is number 1 and Malaysia is still number 2. So in physical sciences and social sciences, many of our researchers are publishing in this predatory journal. That's not a good sign to begin with. Okay, not a good sign to begin with. No? Okay. Your potential means nothing without action. What happens is many people are doing their PhD. They get the PhD and then they start introducing my name is Dr. A, Dr. B, Dr. C. But if you see behind their CVs, there's no research at all. That's also not a good sign, right? The reason why the government is spending so much money to send scholars to do their PhD is somehow to do research and disseminate the research. Okay, so again, all those masters now, they were actually once beginners. So they were also struggling. So when I first started, I was also struggling. We didn't have a good system of mentoring. Now we have a better system, slightly better system compared to when I first started 30, 40 years ago. So what I'm going to share with you is some of my journey as an accidental. I call myself an accidental researcher. I never actually planned to do research. I never even planned to do my master's to begin with. I did my undergraduate studies at the same school. I'm a full professor now, School of Management, 1984 to 1988. I was an undergraduate student at the School of Management. 89 to 1990, I was looking for a job because at that time we had a big recession. So I was looking for a job, jumping from one job to another. In 1990, I got my first job in USM as a tutor, okay, in 1990. And I went for interview in USM 8 times before I got my first job. Okay? 8 times I went for interview, and the interviewer was the same person. Every time I go in, the greeting was, Ramayah, you are here again. Okay? And in 1990, for an Indian guy to get a government job was a big thing. So my parents were very happy. I'm working in the government and I get pension. So I was also very happy because this is a pensionable job, permanent and pensionable. But unfortunately, in 1995, 1996, they decided to do away with the post called tutor. No more post called tutor. So I was actually forced to do my master's. I did my master's of business administration at the School of Management. And then I went for an interview for promotion in 1998. During the promotion, the person interviewing me was a guy called Prof. Hassan Said, who was the DG for the Ministry of Education, Higher Education, and then he was VC for tailors for a while, and now later he became VC for UITM, and now he's in AEU, I think, AEU. So he was asking me, where is your publication? And then I got upset, and I had a big argument with him, saying that my appointment letter only said this, anything that the dean asked you to do. That was the appointment letter. Apa saja yang diarahkan oleh dekan. That was the term lah. So the dean didn't ask me to write papers. I was doing a lot of classes. But unfortunately, I didn't get promoted in 1998. 1999, I went for another interview for promotion. This time was a different TNC. And he only asked me one question. Ramayah, are you still running? Why he asked me that was, I was an active sportsman during my undergraduate days. One year they were asking about publication. The next year they don't require publication. And I got promoted in 1999 to a lecturer. Okay? And that's how I started my career as a lecturer in 1999. 2003, I got promoted to associate professor, and 2012, I got promoted, 2011, I got promoted to a full professor. So my first journal paper was published in the year 2000. Okay, 1999, I published my first conference paper, and in the year 2000, I published my first journal paper. What happened was, when I was beginning my publication career, many of the senior professors were telling me it is nearly impossible for a social scientist to publish in a Web of Science or ISI journal. So I thought they were correct, because they were senior people, professors, right? But after a while, I realized that they were actually trying to pat their egos, because they cannot publish in Web of Science. So they are telling the younger ones, you cannot publish. So the younger ones won't try. That's not a good sign. System change over time. So you must be able to encourage even your students who are doing your PhD to try to publish in better journals. Okay. So in 2000, I published my first paper, and in 2001, I thought I can submit to a good journal in Web of Science. So in 2001, I submitted a paper to International Journal of Information Management. And for those who are, you're actually very lucky people. When I first started submitting for journal, we had to make 3 copies of the paper. 3 copies of the paper. put into an envelope, put stamp, and then send to the publisher. After 3 to 6 months, you wait for the review to come back, and then you revise, resend. That was the thing we were doing. Now it's all online. Today you submit, then you get an email saying that the paper was received and all. We submit by post. We have to wait for 1 month before some news comes from the publisher, and then every other month we are waiting for the mail. Is there any review? So after 6 months, I got my first review, and the review was so bad. Okay, I had 3 reviews. These are from the US. I had to send to US, and then the paper is the shorter paper. I read the comments, and 3 days I couldn't sleep. The review was so bad. I thought I don't know what research was. Okay, from 2001 to 2006, I had a phobia. I didn't submit to international journal at all. So 2001 to 2006, I was submitting to all regional journals like Thailand, Indonesia, India, Pakistan, Bangladesh. And then in 2006, I decided to write again because I saw that when I read the papers published in Emerald, Elsevier, and so on, I can write like that. Why not I try again? That's how I started writing again to international journals or Web of Science journals in 2007. Okay. After that, I did not look back. I went on. So my advice is don't get frustrated. Okay. Reviews are there. You get rejected. If you get rejected, take the comments. You can do some reviews, revise the paper, and then move on to the next journal. Okay, move on to the next journal. So these are some of the appointments I have currently in my academic career. So I will not go into it. Next, we will look at why do we publish. There are many reasons why we publish. Many people publish because of the promotion tied to the publication. So if you publish more papers, then you become associate professor, and so on. That is one of the biggest motivation driving many people to publish. But that's not the only motivation. The other motivations are because you want to build your reputation in the field. Okay. So if you are saying you are in marketing, somehow you must be able to publish a good paper in a marketing journal. Okay. You are in marketing and then you publish in a journal which is in medical. That's also not very good. So since your area of research should be marketing, you must be able to publish a good paper in a marketing journal. That's how you should progress in your career. And this is one of the reasons why we should be publishing. This was our former VC, Prof. Asma. She wrote this. I urge for more prolific authors to come forward and strive for the university and the country. All the efforts put in and recognition being accorded will surely show to the world what we are capable of doing, as the world needs to be aware and informed of our capabilities. Many years ago, we had a big term called Jago Kampung. Remember? I think Rashid Siddiq was the one who had that tag. He does very well in our country, but when he leaves the country, he doesn't do very well. So the term Jago Kampung has been there for some time. We need to become, we cannot become Jago Kampung only. We need to move beyond our own country. That's what Prof. Asma is trying to say. And once we get this publication done, we have to measure impact. How do you measure impact? There are many ways to measure impact. Although now they are talking about other ways of measuring impact, it's quite fuzzy. So the ones we can measure directly is, previously we were looking at total number of papers. Now they have stopped looking at number of papers. Now they have changed to total number of citations. And one of the key indicators of how widely you are impacting the field is this value called H index. Okay, H index. Okay, what is called H index? Okay, before we go to the H index, when you write your paper, this is a table that shows you how many number of co-authors you have and the kind of citation you will get. So if you want to get more citation, you should focus on single authored publication two-author publication or three-author publication. Okay, single author, two-author, or three-author. Once you go to 4, 5, 6 authors, the number of citation goes down. Okay. We also have a term called penerbitan gotong royong. One paper you have 8 authors. That's also not a very good sign. I actually don't like to do that. Although I did that early in my career because of pressures from the boss. But now I try not to do that. So to get more citation, you should publish alone with two authors in the paper or 3 authors in the paper. Pushing the limit 4 authors. That's what normally I try to limit to. 4 authors in a paper. Okay. This H index was developed by a guy called Hirsch in 2005. He's a condensed matter physicist. The H index has a number that goes up from 0 to whatever number. What H index measures is the highest number of papers that the scientist has that at least have that number of citation. For example, if you say Prof. Ahmad has a H index of 15, he has 15 papers cited 15 times. If you have one paper and the paper is cited 100 times, your H index is still 1 because you have one paper cited 1 time. Okay, so this is an example of how you can calculate the H index. We have author A, author B, and author C. Okay, author A, author B, and author C. If you see in terms of citation, author C has the biggest number of citation, 577. But his H index is still 5. This guy, author A, has the lowest number of citation, 37 only. But he has an H index of 6. Why is that? Because here you see the author A has 8 papers. 6 of his papers has at least 6 citation, right? 6, 6, 6, 6, 6, and this is more than 6, right? So the 6 papers cited 6 times, that's why you have an H index of 6. Author B has 8 papers also, but he has a citation H index of 5 because he has 5 papers cited at least 5 times. Okay. Although this is cited 6 times, the H index is still 5 because he has only 5 papers cited that many times. Okay. So when does author B's H index go up to 6 is when he has this 6th paper, okay, the paper number 6, also 6 here. Okay. If your paper 6 has 6 citation, then your 6 papers cited at least 6 times. That is how the H index is calculated. So as the H index goes up, it is much more difficult to achieve one incremental number. From 5 to 6, very easy. From 90 to 91, it's a big task. Okay, because the papers are more. Okay, so author C has only H index of 5 because this 6th paper is still only 2. So he has 5, 5, 5, 5, 5. Okay, that's how the H index is calculated for those who are not aware of the calculation. So we have 3 H indexes that we will use. We use in Malaysia. Number 1 is the Google Scholar H index. Google Scholar H index will be the highest because Google Scholar tracks all citation. Citation to a thesis, citation to a paper, citation to a conference paper, citation to the book. Everything is tracked in Google Scholar. You will have the biggest number in Google Scholar. For Scopus citation, the H index will be much lower, much lower. And why is this? Because Scopus journal only tracks citation to a paper published in a Scopus journal. Okay, so if you publish in a non-Scopus journal and it is cited in a Scopus journal, they are not counted. They are not counted. So that's one of the problem with Scopus H index. And the most difficult one is this called Web of Science H index. Web of Science H index, which you can get it from this website called Publons. For those who don't have a Web of Science access, you can use Publons. This will be the lowest, okay? Because Web of Science only track citation for a journal paper published in another Web of Science journal. Okay, Web of Science journal paper that cites another Web of Science journal. So that is why in terms of citation and H index, Web of Science will be the lowest. Okay, I think for social scientists, if you get a citation of 250 and more, you're already considered a good researcher in terms of Web of Science. 250 citation in Web of Science. Okay. For types of publication, we have many types. The first one is what we call as a conference paper, and the second one is the journal paper. We also have books and all. We will discuss a bit later. For conference paper, we have proceeding and presentation. What is the difference is proceeding is when you present a paper, the paper is published in a proceeding, then you get an ISBN number. Presentation is when you present, but you don't publish them in the proceeding. You can take the presentation to another journal or proceeding to publish. That's how the conference paper works. For conferences, we have two types. One is the proceeding, the other one is the presentation. And for conferences also now we have a lot of conferences which are problematic. Okay, you can look at the flow chart to decide which are the conference you want to go. One of the reasons you go to conference is for networking, not for publication. So you want to go and meet people. Try and attend conferences which are prestigious in your area. For example, those who are in management, there's a conference called Academy of Management Conference. For marketing, we have American Marketing Association. For technology, we have International Association for Management of Technology, European Conference of Information Systems. Those are conferences which are very prestigious in your area. Okay? So when you attend conferences like that, you will meet those people you cite in your literature. I have been very lucky in my career because people who I have cited in my literature are now good friends with me. So that's what I've done over the years, attending conferences, talking to these people so that you get your networking going in conferences, not for publication. No? So if you plan to attend conferences, try looking at a conference which has this kind of logo, like Scopus Web of Science. What happens is, when you publish in a proceeding, the proceeding gets indexed in Scopus. So you still get a Scopus publication. Sometimes this publisher has their own journal. So they transfer your conference paper to the journal. That's also considered two publications. Conference paper is one. The journal publication is another because they have different ISBN number. So this is a conference called IBIMA. They also have journals like this. So after the conference, they will also publish in a journal. So you can consider the higher level, the higher ranking is the journal compared to the conference, right? So we can claim them as a journal paper. Those are things you can do for beginners. For those who are beginning out, you can try to publish your paper in a conference and then work on the conference paper to publish in a journal. The other thing you should remember is you cannot republish your conference paper into a journal without improvement. Okay. You did 40% new material. 40% new material from the conference paper you publish before you can submit to a journal. Okay. Some editors will ask you, what is new? So you need to highlight which part is new. Okay. Okay. For journal, we have two types of journal. One is called the index journal. The other one is called the non-index journal. Non-index is like trade journals. In Malaysia, we have this journal called MMR, Malaysian Management Review. This is editor review. That means the editor likes the paper, he will publish the paper. If not, the paper is not published. Whereas the index journals, most of them, they will have reviews. And the other misunderstanding many people have is index journal is like Emerald Elsevier. No, indexing bodies are separate from the publisher. So we have indexing bodies like this, Econlit, Cable, Academic Research, Business Source, and so on. These are what we call as indexing bodies. This is in social sciences management. No? For engineering, they have this kind of indexing bodies. For example, we have a publisher called Elsevier. that publish many journals. They also have an indexing body called Scopus. Scopus is actually managed by this company called Elsevier. So the publisher is separate from the indexing body. Okay, indexing body. So for citation index, we were talking about index, and now we are talking about citation index. Citation index, we have two of them. In Malaysia, we consider three main ones. One is Web of Science, the second one is Scopus, and the third one now we recognize is called ERA, E-R-A, right? Excellence in Research, right? From Australia. So for Scopus, why they are called citation index is because Scopus journal, after they publish the paper, they will track your citation. Okay, they will track your citation and tell you how many people have cited your paper. Okay, that you can track in the web page called scopus.com. For ISI, we also have some differences. We have two types of journal. One is called the impact factor journal, which includes Social Science Citation Index and Science Citation Index. We have another one called Arts and Humanity Citation Index that does not carry impact factor. And we have another new one called Emerging Source Citation Index, also does not have any impact factor. Okay, although they are in Web of Science. The one we consider highly, we call it high impact publication is this one, where we have impact factor, right? Okay. Social Science Citation Index and Science Citation Index. In many institutions now, they have also started to recognize this called MySite. In USM, for those who are doing PhD, you need two publication in MySite. Okay, two publication in MySite, or one publication in Scopus, Web of Science, or ERA. Okay, one publication in Scopus, Web of Science, or ERA, or two publication in MySite before you can graduate. Okay, different institutions have different graduation requirement. You need to follow the institutional requirement. Okay, how do you identify Scopus Index Journal? This is the web page called Simago. The only problem with this Simago is they are only updated up to 2021, I think. They have not updated to, I think it's still 2020. Let me see. I think still 2020. They have not updated up to 2022. So what happens is you can go to this web page and look for different categories. You can look for subject areas. You can look at subject categories. And if you want to look for journals published in, let's say, Malaysia, you can also drill down to Malaysia. Okay, so those are things you can do with Simago. I think 2020. They're still in 2020. I'm not sure whether they have updated. And here they have this impact factor, which is the SJR impact factor, not counted in Malaysia. And many institutions don't follow this quartile. I think in USM we don't follow Q1, Q2 for Scopus papers, but we have a requirement of publication in Q1, Q2 for Web of Science. So this is where you can access the list. Okay, the other way you can access the list is periodically Scopus will update this link. You can go to this web page, and then this source list by Scopus you can download, and this is how the scope list will look like. So in the Google Drive link that I gave you, you have the latest one, March 2022. March 2022. If you see in the Excel file, they have some tabs. The first one you need to look at is discontinued titles. That means journals which were originally in Scopus, they have already discontinued them. Okay, they have already discontinued them. So these are the 2022 one, discontinued in 2022. Okay, in 2021, they also discontinued many journals, and one of the popular ones, many academics in Malaysia target is this. Academy of Entrepreneurship Journal, Academy of Strategic Management Journal, and Estudios de Economía Aplicada. This was very, very, very popular. also elementary education online. These are all journals which were previously in Scopus. They have already removed that. Don't waste your money submitting to them anymore. Although they claim they are in Scopus, they have already been removed. How do you know from when they removed? They give you here. Volume number 10 is last issue that is in Scopus for this journal is volume number 10. The last issue that is in Scopus for this journal is volume number 7, 2022. If you publish in volume number 8, 2022, your papers are no longer indexed in Scopus. That's how you decide to look at this list. Discontinued list. Okay, the second list you have is accepted title. What it means accepted title is journals which are newly added to Scopus in March 2022. So these are journals which are not indexed in Scopus, but they are already indexed in Scopus. So if you now submit to them, when your papers are published, they will be published in a Scopus index journal. So not many people know this. So if we are submitting to these journals, competition is not so stiff compared to if we are publishing in journals which are already in the Scopus sources. Okay, Scopus sources. Yeah. Okay, that's for Scopus. The one we in Malaysia we recognize as high impact is these journals which are published in Thomson Reuters previously, now is taken over by Clarivate. We call it Web of Science. Web of Science. Okay. How do you identify a journal has an impact factor? There are two ways. One is looking at the website, and the other one is looking at the Clarivate Analytics page. Okay. The web page is like this. So this is your Clarivate homepage, mjlclarivate.com. If you go to the page, you can see we have this downloadable PDF files. Science Citation Index, Social Science Citation Index, Arts and Humanities Citation Index, Emerging Source Citation Index, and they give you everything in one, JCR 2020. What is meant by JCR 2020 includes this and this. Okay? This and this. Journals that carry impact factor. There are only two of them. I've downloaded for you the latest one in the folder in an Excel form. So you can see the impact factor and also this is the web page, JCR Clarivate. So if you want to know whether a journal is has an impact factor and what kind of quartile they are, you can go to this web page, JCR Clarivate, and they will give you from the Q1 to the last Q. And if you see in Social Science Citation Index, this Social Science Citation Index, the highest impact factor journal is this World Psychiatry, which has an impact factor of 49.548. 49.548. If you are not so familiar with this, what you can do is in the folder that I shared with you, you can see the Excel file. I will show you. Okay, when you look at a particular journal and you want to know what is the impact factor of that journal, you can drill down to, let's say, this journal, Journal of Intellectual Capital. It has an impact factor 7.198. How do they calculate the impact factor? Let me show you. Okay, this is how they calculate the impact factor. A citation to the journal in 2020 in 2018 and 2019 divided by number of papers published by the journal in 2018 and 2019. That's how they get the impact factor here, which is the 5-year impact factor. This is 5 years. So this impact factor is calculated based on the last 2 years. Okay, last 2 years. So one of the strategy to target a journal in Web of Science is by looking at this impact factor trend. So we see here 2017, the impact factor was here. 2018, 2019, 2020, it's still increasing. So this kind of journal, when they launched the 2021 impact factor in June, okay, another 2 more months, this is expected to go higher than 7. Okay? So if you publish now in this journal, when a paper get published, you will follow the impact factor of 2021. That will be much higher than this. That's one of the way you can strategize your submission now by looking at the trends in the journal. Okay. So I think here, yeah. So this is how you calculate the impact factor for this journal. Citation in 2018 and 2019, total divided by number of papers published in 2018 and 2019. So the citation is 619, number of papers published is 86. So this is where you get the 7.198. This is one of the reasons why editors of a Web of Science journal normally request you to cite some papers from the last 2 years, okay, when you submit, right? Okay, that's one of the reasons to improve the impact factor of the journal. Okay. So for the quartile of the journal, the journal may be indexed in different areas. Here we have this journal which is in business and also in management. In business, it is for Q1. In management, it is also Q1. Okay. Some journals in business, they may be Q1, but in management, they may be Q2. So what you can do is, you can go by the highest impact factor, highest quartile. So in the Excel list that I shared with you, you can see that. Let me show you this. Yeah. So here we have a list of journals according to category. Let's say you are in business and finance. You can look at this Excel file, business and finance. Forbes is the highest impact factor in this category. Yeah. Okay. So this is already sorted from the highest impact factor to the lowest impact factor, and you can see the quartile beside the journal. So if you are planning to target a Q3, Q4, Q2, Q1, whatever journal, you can look at this list for your next submission. For computer science, the impact factor is much higher, 25, right? Impact factor. The other way you can get your impact factor for journal is by looking at the website. So this is a journal called International Journal of Information Management. This is the impact factor they put here, 14.098. So we can access them directly. Wiley, they put them at the top, impact factor 10.302. This is business strategy and the environment. In Springer, they show them like this, 6.4, Journal of Business Ethics. Okay. Emerald, they show them like this. So this journal is indexed in Scopus and also Web of Science. Scopus and Web of Science. Okay. Taylor and Francis, they give you the quartile directly. The other journals don't give you quartile, but this one gives you the quartile. Okay. We see here they put Q1 impact factor best quartile. So maybe the journal is also indexed in other areas, which is Q2. But the highest one is Q1, right? So they put the best quartile here. Okay. This is SAGE, Journal of Travel Research. Okay. The other way of identifying whether the journal is indexed in Web of Science is when you have this, Social Sciences Citation Index, Science Citation Index, okay? That will tell you. But you also have to be careful because now a lot of journals are putting in the list, but they're actually not listed in Web of Science. So I've given you the Excel file that you can look at to look at SSCI and SCI. So we are in an area called Social Science Citation Index. Try looking at that. So for Emerging Source Citation Index, they have 7,285 journals. In USM, this is not considered a Web of Science journal. They are not ranked very high. So if you publish in an ESI journal, I think it's actually a waste of resources. To me, what you need to be targeting is either you submit to SSCI journal, SCI journal, Scopus journal, or ERA. Okay, ERA instead of ESCI. There are 7,000 journals. The promise is these journals will later migrate to SSCI or SCI if they achieve Q2 citation. Q2 citation. That's the promise of the publisher. Okay. So in journals, normally they put a logo like this. Emerging Source Citation Index, right? That tells you their index in ESCI. Okay. More recently, Malaysia also started this citation, My Site. So now they consider papers published in these journals Also for graduation in USM, I'm not sure in other institutions, but in USM, they are counted for graduation. Okay, we want to take question ke kita continue dulu? Dr. Fatimah. We want to take question ke kita continue?
Boleh je Prof, mana-mana.
Ada question?
Any question from the floor?
Tak ada. In the chat, I don't see any question lah. Okay. I have no question. I will continue with the next section. Okay. We also have other types of publication that you can target. Instead of journal papers only, we also have books, chapters in a book, book reviews, commentary, and interviews. I think book reviews, commentary, interviews are slightly more difficult to achieve. Books, we have two types of books. One is the original book, the other one is the edited book. What is the difference is, original book, the author writes all the chapters in the book. Okay, let's say 300 pages, one author writes or a multiple group of authors write. That's called an original book. The edited book is there are a group of editors, but the content is written by different authors. Say, chapter 1 is written by author A, chapter 2 is written by author B. But this group of editors will become the editor of that book. Okay, so that's the difference between an original book and edited book. Okay, books are good to have on CV. In some institution, they require an academic to have a book before they are promoted to an associate professor. In Universiti Malaya, if you don't have a book, they will not promote you to an associate professor. But I think that's not a requirement in many other institutions. It takes a longer time to write a book. Okay, but the good thing about book is you get royalty. So when you sell, when the publisher sells the book, you will get royalty based on the agreement. How much? How many percent? So let's say the book is 50 ringgit and you have a royalty of 10%. So every time they sell the book, out of the 50 ringgit, 5 ringgit is yours. So if they sell 1,000 books, they will pay you 5,000 ringgit. That's how the royalty system works for an original book. So this is a book that I got into writing in 2013, I think. And this is published by a company called Oxford Fajar. But recently they have pulled out of Malaysia. They have already withdrawn from the Malaysian market, I think, because that's during the pandemic. This book is selling very well. So what happens is, every 6 months, they will send you a statement saying, these are the total number of books sold. This is your royalty. And they will bank in straight to the account. So that is one thing. One is you get a steady stream of royalty. You also get citation. Okay, if you see here, this book is cited 331 times. That was some time back. And now the number has gone up. The other book we wrote was this book on partial least square modeling. This is selling very well. We have already reprinted, I think, 5 times with Pearson. And the citation is now 700, I think, if I'm not mistaken, more recently. This was a book we wrote in 2016. We revised in 2018, the second edition. This is also getting cited a lot, about 700 plus now. Okay, so those are the good thing about writing a book. Okay, writing a book. Okay, edited book looks like this. This is an edited book where you have several chapters. There are many publishers, IGI Global, we have Springer, we have CRC that you can propose to them. chapters in the books are more shorter, and you don't have to actually have data. You can do desk research using the internet and then try to write a paper. Okay, that's what we can do. Normally, some of my students have book chapters before they go for proposal defense. The reason is the context or the background of the study you can write in a chapter, and now you can also cite the chapter in your background. Okay, those are things you can do as a graduate student. Okay, so this is IGI Global, one of the publisher that has a lot of edited books. So you can actually propose to edit a book if you have the resources, time and resources. You can say I want to edit a book and then submit a proposal. If not, what you can do is you can submit a chapter. Okay, submit a chapter. What happens is they have this call for book chapters, and they will tell you submit a 2-page proposal. They will accept or reject the proposal. Then only they will invite you to rewrite the chapter. So it will take about 3 to 4 months before you actually need to submit the full chapter. Okay, proposal here is let's say 25th September. The full chapter is in December. So you have October, November, December, 3 months to prepare the full chapter. So these are much more easier because the editors have already arranged, this is chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3, chapter 4. Okay, so try looking at them. Okay, it is not only IGI Global. Emerald also have many call for book chapters. CRC Press, this one is under Taylor and Francis, but they have actually book publishing company that is called CRC Press. They also have a call for book chapters. Okay, so those are some of the avenues for publishing your chapters, chapters in a book. Okay. So the other thing is before we start looking at submission, you need to decide where you want to contribute. Here we have different kinds of paper you can write. One is the theory paper. Second one is the integrated literature review. I think more and more people are now doing this. There are a lot of workshops now being organized for literature review. The third one is a qualitative empirical article, and the final one is a quantitative empirical article. I focus mainly on number 4, which I find is much more easier and structured. Whereas there are also people who focus on the number 2, right? Integrated literature review. So you can decide whatever you want to do. This is an example of a paper on theories. This was one of my PhD students who wrote a paper about review of theories. She was looking at cyber loafing. Her study was on cyber loafing. What she did was she compiled all the theories related to cyber loafing and said these are the theories available, okay, from Scopus and Science Direct. That's what she did for this paper. You can also write a literature review paper. Literature review paper is where you look at the trends or changes in the literature. This was a paper written by one of my PhD students about more than 12 years ago. He looked at the changes in outsourcing in developing countries over a period of 30 years. First 10 years, what was the focus on outsourcing? What was the factors important in outsourcing? In the second 10 years, what were the factors important? And the third 10 years, what was the factors important? That's all he did in this paper and published in this Emerald publication. Okay, this is a more recent paper accepted in Journal of Intellectual Capital by one of my PhD students who is collecting her data. So what she did was she did a systematic literature review. When you do systematic literature review, many people use this protocol called Prisma, and they also use some graphical tools like WAS Viewer. Then you can look at the changes in the literature related to this issue called organizational resilience. Her topic is on organizational resilience. So she wrote a systematic literature review paper that was published in a Q1 journal. This is a Q1 journal with an impact factor of 7.2, I think. Okay. she's now collecting data. She have not even started analyzing the data. Okay, that's also possible as part of your journey when you are doing your PhD. And another kind of paper that you can write is this called a viewpoint. This is a short article with no data. Okay, just your viewpoint about certain issues. So she wants to look at how to induce organizational resilience and then some strategies. This is a 3-page paper, I think, if I'm not mistaken. This is a 3-page paper, but the only limitation with this journal is they only accept one paper in a year. So if you have published a paper in that journal this year, you cannot resubmit a paper again until next year. Okay, this is something you can look at the journal. Yeah. Okay. Any questions? No questions? Then I can move on. Okay. Next, we will look at publishing models. If there's no question, Dr. Fatimah, ada question? Okay. So next we will look at some publishing models that you can actually look at as a researcher. Yeah, okay. This is something I gathered from one of the workshops we ran in for the conference called SASEM. In 2017, we organized the first structural equation modeling conference in Kuching, and the keynote speakers were these two guys, Marco Sasted and Peter Sadden. Marco Sasted and Peter Sadden. And after the 2-day conference, we had a post-conference workshop on publishing. Post-conference workshop on publishing. I was running the morning session and Marco was running the afternoon session. During the conference, Peter Sadden was the keynote speaker. After the conference, he told me, I want to attend your workshop. I got worried because this is a guy who is a very senior editor of a journal called MIS Quarterly. For those who are not familiar with information system, MIS Quarterly is considered like a god level journal. Ini kita panggil tahap dewa-dewa. Okay, dewa dan dewi lah. Okay, and he was a senior editor for 5 years in this journal. Okay, so when I went for my sabbatical leave in 2011, I actually went to visit him for that purpose. I want to understand how the senior editor of this journal thinks like. Okay, that was my reason I attended. So when we attended this workshop, we had a lot of debate. And at the end of the day, Peter Sadden actually summarized all the discussion into these publishing models. So I'm going to share with you the kind of publishing model we discussed during the workshop. Okay. So the first one is what we call as the roulette table model. Roulette table model is there is no strategy. You write a paper, you look for a journal, you submit. That's it. Okay. That was what I was doing like 30 years ago. When I first started, I had a dean called Daing Nasir, Professor Daing Nasir, who was the BC for UMP. He was my lecturer for undergraduate. Then I actually worked under him for a few years, and I was reporting to him when he was the dean. So normally when you get a journal sent to the school, he will take the journal and tell me, Ram, can you try this journal? So I was doing that. So he gives me a journal, I write a paper, I submit to the journal. That's all I was doing. And after a while, I realized this is not a good strategy. This is just trying your luck. This is just trying your luck. The second one is social influence model. Social influence model is where you work with a person who has good networking. Okay, the person is a journal editor, or the person has some special issue that he's editing. Okay. Because of that, you work with this person and you can also get your papers published because this person has the networking. He's very close to a journal editor, so he can get you the special issue. Those are some of the ways social influence model works. Okay. Number 3 is the guru co-author model. Guru co-author model. This is where those who are younger, you start working with a well-known researcher in your area. For example, this guy called Venkatesh. He's considered like the guru in technology adoption. Viswanath Venkatesh. He developed theories like TEM2, TEM3, UTA-UT, UTA-UT2. Okay, I met him in 2016, and now we are actually good friends for some time now. But I didn't write any paper with him because when I first started, he was much more younger than me. So I cited many of his papers. But if you publish a paper with him, your profile gets enhanced. Okay, that's what they are saying. And the second person is this guy called David Kenny. David Kenny. Okay, David Kenny is the other half of a paper called Barron and Kenny. This Barron and Kenny paper has more than 100,000 citations. One paper. We are not talking about the career. One paper. Yeah? So if you write a paper with an author who has 100,000 citations, your profile get enhanced overnight. Okay, and this is actually published in Nature. That's a paper published in Nature. What it said was pairing with an influential co-author gives young researchers a career-long boost. But getting people like this to work with you is not easy. Okay, because they are already there, right? Okay, unless you know that, you get to know them, you have seen them, you have talked to them. Maybe you can work with them. So that's one of the other model called guru co-author model. Number 4 is called intrinsic quality of the paper model. This is the only model Peter Seddon approves. He said, I don't believe in the other models. I work on this model. I write a paper. I think the paper has good contribution. I will push to the best journal possible. That's how we do. And then he says one of the strategy is you try to block reviewers who may reject your paper. So when you submit the paper, you can tell the editor, these are people I don't want them to review. That's also possible. Okay. So this is what he thinks is the good strategy. Write a paper, target a good journal, and then submit the paper. If you get rejected, you look for another journal. That's the strategy for the intrinsic quality of the paper model. What he's arguing is my paper has value. I want to submit to the best journal. Okay. Number 5 is the publishing cartel model. This is where you work with a group. Okay, and they rotate this authorship. Sometimes one person is the first author, another person is a first author, another paper. Normally it happens because the supervisor has a group of people, or the journal editor has a group of authors working under him. That's what we call as the publishing cartel model. In Malaysia also, you can see that happening in some of the private institutions. In public institution, people don't like to work together for some reason. I don't know. People like to kill each other, I think. Okay, they don't like to work together. I don't know, for some reason. But the private institution, they are actually very good in terms of networking and working together. You can see that. I think we have a group in Utah. We have a group in UCSI. They are working very well and publishing in some of the top journals. And we are looking at them. We are still not learning for some reason. Okay. These are some of the models available for you to look at and decide. I'm not saying which is better. Okay. I've done some of these things early in my career. But those are choices you need to make as a researcher. Okay. You need to make as a researcher. Okay. Tak ada soalan juga.
We have one, Prof.
That one I will nanti saya ada list tu.
Alright, okay.
Izin apa Ryan? Ryan punya question kan? Okay. Nanti saya ada list. Okay. Okay, Fariza. It actually depends. Sometimes the main author is not the person who is writing, Fariza. Sometimes the main author is the person who came out with the idea. But the other person is carrying out. But somehow the person with the idea will be guiding them what to do and so on. So the contribution of the person coming with the idea may not be very large. But there will be some people who are doing the bigger part, right? Okay, they may be the co-author or the corresponding author. Later we will look at that kind of things. I spend lots of time doing writing and editing. Later I will tell you how much time I spend. I don't think so you want to follow me, Fariza. But I will tell you the amount of time I spend. Okay. And the most difficult part is this, I think. Many people cannot write. I think you write 200, 300 page thesis, right? Very happily. But if you ask a person to write a 8 page, 10 page paper, cannot come out, bukan? Bertahun-tahun tak boleh tulis satu paper. Thesis siap 300 page. You cannot even write one paper. It is not the same. When you write a thesis, you are writing a long story. But when you are writing a paper, you have to write concisely. Not easy. That comes with practice. You have to write papers. If I look at my papers I wrote like 20 years ago, I laugh at myself. But that was 20 years ago. Remember? As you move along, you will know how to improve the paper. It comes with practice. You need to write the paper. If you see here, you write one paper, you throw away. I've written many papers halfway, I've thrown them away because when you write, you stop and you come back, you don't know what happened to the paper, what the idea was. So I like to quickly finish the whole structure of a paper if I want to leave it. Or else, when I come back, I don't know what was it about. So that's how I work. So this is what we call as habit of writing. Talking about writing is a writing. Thinking about writing is a writing. Dreaming of fantasizing is a writing. Neither are outlining, researching, or making notes. All those may be part of the whole milieu of writing life. But only writing is writing. Okay, you must sit around writing. Okay. Most of the time, what happens is you will tell yourself, "I will write the paper tomorrow," and then tomorrow you say, "I write the paper tomorrow," and then tomorrow, 5 years already. After that, you won't write the paper, Okay, that's what is happening with many PhD graduates. Once you finish your PhD, you should quickly work on the thesis. That is where the next 1-2 years you work with your thesis, generate papers from your thesis. No need to look for new topics, okay? But you have to sit down and write, okay? If you don't write, it cannot get polished. It cannot get polished. So you need to somehow get it written. And this is the other thing which is happening. This is the other thing happening in many public institutions. You see everybody very busy, right? Okay, they make things look like they are busy, okay. And what Ernest Hemingway says is this: never mistake motion for action. Okay, sometimes people are moving all the time. They look busy all the time, but end of the year they don't have anything published or they don't have an output. Okay, in the West they don't look at your motion. They look at your action. They tell you at the end of the year, you need this, and this. If you don't deliver this, that's it. Okay. Whereas here, we will tell you, okay, never mind, try again next year. Try again next year until they retire. They are still trying to do things. We are very forgiving culture. Whereas in the West, they are very strict. You are supposed to do this in this 1 year period. You need to produce them, doesn't matter how. So those kind of output-based system should be there. Okay, for writing papers, this is my suggestion. This was my old workstation. Many years ago when I was in a different room. This was my setup. And one of the things I would like to suggest to younger academics, you need to invest in your career. Okay, what I see is people don't like to invest at all. Paper, pencil, whatever you want to take back from office to home. Instead of investing in your own paper, pencil, and so on, you are trying to take things from office to home, which is not right to me. So what I have done over the years is my room is very well equipped. Okay, we see here, those days we have to have a scanner, a separate scanner. We have to have a separate printer and then the sound system. And I invested in this monitor, which was a 27-inch monitor. That cost me 5,000 ringgit like 20 years ago. Okay, it has served me for a long time. Very sharp. It doesn't flicker. Since I work long hours in my office, that's what I do. So since I have a printer, I actually don't have to go to the office. I want to print anything, I can print directly. Only thing I need to go to office for faxing. That was the days. Okay. And if you see here, I have all the backup tools available. Pen drive. Okay. I have the portable hard drive with a case here. I have a webcam here, and that was like 20 years ago. So those are things you need to invest in. Make your office like your second home. Okay. This is my more recent office look. Okay. After I got promoted to associate professor, I bought a big table, which is a 6-feet table, which is L-shaped. And then I changed my printer. Now my printer can do scanning, can do faxing, can do anything, everything here in one. So I don't need a separate scanner. But my Hammond garden is still there. Okay. Okay. So this is how the office looks like. When it come in, this is how it looked like earlier. But now I've reduced a lot of things. So this is how my office looks like now. It looks quite empty because I only have another 2 more years to serve before I retire. All my older theses, I've already thrown them away. And currently, I have a screen which is 40 inches, 40 inches, which cost me about 2,000 ringgit. 27-inch cost me 5,000 many years ago. Now, a 40-inch screen only cost me about 2,000 ringgit. Okay, and you have all the equipment, your microphone, your sound system. I also invested in the chair. These are all not government property. This is persendirian that I buy on using my own money. All these are all equipped with my own funding. Nothing from the university. Okay. And now I've also invested in this. Since we went online, I have a whiteboard, which is just beside my office. So anytime I want to illustrate, I can do that with my whiteboard. So that's what I meant by investing in your career. So the other thing I would say is this. I work in my office very long hours, which is not a good thing, but somehow I cannot change. Even during MCO, I get special permission to come to office. I have never missed office. Okay, the only time I didn't come to office was when we had a total lockdown. Other than that, I'm at the office every day until today. Okay. Previously, I was working. I come in 7:30 in the morning. I don't leave my office before 7. Okay. That's my routine. Okay. Until my wife has already given up on me. Sometimes she tells me, I buy you a mat, you can sleep in the office. Sometimes I get called late at night saying, you forgot about home. That's my wife. Somehow she's very supportive. So I work very long hours, and most of the time, the productive time is after 5. When everybody's left the office, you have the office to yourself. That's the time I put in my effort for writing, editing work and all else. During office hours, you have a lot of distraction. Your friends coming in, then you go for coffee and so on. Those kind of things. Okay, so I've been working for 32 years now. Okay, 32 years now. I've not taken any MC in my 32 years. God willing, another 2 more years I can finish, right? Okay, that's how I work. Morning until maybe 7 p.m. At night. Okay, so that's my work culture. So somebody was asking how much time you spend, right? Those are the time I put in why I have so many papers. I spend a lot of time doing that. No? Okay. How to write a paper, I will not go into the detail. This is the structure that you can see in many books. They give you this structure. You start with an abstract, introduction, literature review, methodology, results, and discussion. The two parts which are the most difficult is the introduction and the discussion. These are the two parts where many of us have problem. The rest of the part, we are already okay. So you need to spend more time here and here. This is where the paper gets to review. The editor will read your introduction to see whether it's compelling before he send it out to review. This part is the one that gets you published. What did you find interesting? Okay, that is where we have lots of problem with this part. So you need to have some collaboration going. Somebody who can write the story well. So that's writing the paper. Idea of writing, these are some of the ideas you can get, where you can get the idea for writing. One is from the literature, and literature changes all the time. I was looking at technology adoption for a long time, but now if you write a paper on technology adoption, you'll find it very difficult to get your paper published. What you can do is do some related work, but still in technology. So now I'm looking at the bad part of technology, Facebook addiction, internet addiction, impact on quality of life, those kind of issues related to technology, but not the adoption part, but what is the impact of the adoption. Okay, that comes from the literature, and you see literature is also moving. The second source for idea is from big names in your area. Google Scholar has an alert that you can follow certain authors. Let's say in my area, I have Joseph Hare, or I have Viswanath Venkatesh. I actually follow them. And when a paper is published by them, you get an email saying that this paper was published by them. You can see what kind of topics they are working on. That will be the more current one, right? Don't work on topics which was important like 5 years ago. To get papers published like that is difficult. So like currently they are looking at AI, robots, those kind of things are now current, blockchain. So somehow your topic of research also must move with the changes in the environment. You can also work with colleagues, whether inside your own institution or outside your institution. You can also work with people from other institutions, public university or even private universities. Okay, competitors. What I meant by competitors is those who are also in your area. So if you are working in, like say, EHRM, you should know who else are working in EHRM, and you can look at the Google Scholar profile, right? You can see what kind of papers they have published, what kind of topics they have looked at. That can give you some idea of what your next paper will be like. Okay. And the last one is reviewing papers. How many of you review papers? Anybody review papers, or you don't review papers? Okay, you should review papers. When you review papers, you put on a different hat. Now you are reviewing another person's work. When you read your own paper, you think everything is very nice. When you read another person's paper, you have that binocular, right? The big microscope. You want to check where is the error. When you do that, you also you actually learn something. Sometimes the papers are looking at topics which are interesting. That can give you an idea of what you can do in the future. Okay, so that's one of the things I do. I review hundreds of paper in a year. Okay, hundreds of paper in a year. Okay. How to get research done? Okay, individually no longer possible. This is out of the picture. When you're doing a PhD, you can do that. Other than that, when you start working, you have many things competing for your time. You cannot do it individually. So you need to work with some of your students. They can be a postgraduate student. They can be also your undergraduate student or your colleagues. Okay, but the only thing is you need to arrange who will be the main author, who will be the co-author, arrangement must be clear. You don't want to get into arguments later when you start submitting the paper. This is quite messy now. Editors are quite fussy about this authorship. When you submit the paper, the author's name was there. When the paper is getting accepted, you have another author. Those are things editors don't like. They don't like. Okay. Collaboration is another way of working on topics which are interesting so that you can do comparison. Malaysia, Pakistan, Malaysia, Bangladesh, Malaysia, UK, US. This is also good because when you publish a paper with international authors, your profile also get enhanced. Don't only write with your co-authors from the same department. Then only your department will know. So if you start writing with another university author, people in that university also will notice, hey, this person is writing with this person, right? Those are the things you can do to get your research done. Okay, no longer individual. You need to have a team. So this is how you can develop a strategic network. Okay, and when you develop a strategic network, this is a term very interesting. No hard feelings. When buying into a co-op, everything is normally distributed almost. What it means is when you start working with another co-author, there are three things you need to look out for. One is called the personality of the co-author, reputation of the co-author, and availability of and motivation. Okay. Reputation, if you're a senior person, they have a big reputation, but they don't have time to work with you. Then you end up losing because that person can only advise you, but they cannot work on the paper. There are some authors, they don't have time or motivation to work on a paper. Sometimes you write to them, they say, okay, I will co-author with you, but they don't provide any input. That's also not a good thing. And the third one is the personality. You must be able to work with your co-author. You cannot be arguing all the time. So personality of the two authors must also fit. Those are the things you look at to get into a strategic network. Okay, a strategic network. Okay. The other thing you can do is role models or mentors. There's a difference between mentor and role models. When I first started writing, this guy was the role model. Viswanath Venkatesh. Viswanath Venkatesh. He's also in the same area as me. I used to cite his papers, and then I started meeting him. Now we are actually good friends. Okay. He writes very well for some reason or the other. Maybe the training. Okay. So you can look at the papers they have written and see how they structure their paper, how do they write the discussion, and so on. That's called role model. Mentor is a person who works with you and advises you in many stages. Okay, that's what we call as mentors. When I first started, I actually had a mentor called Muhammad Jantan, who was our TNC R&D for some time. He's a very sharp guy. Okay, I actually benefited a lot from his mentoring in my early career. Okay, so role models and mentors. Next, we will look at how to choose journal, how to choose and identify the journal. Do not waste your research by publishing everywhere. Choose best and save your handwork. That's what this lady is saying. When you write a paper and you think the paper is good, try to identify the best possible journal for you to publish. If you don't get, then you go down the next one. Okay. So how do you identify targeting? This is what is happening currently. Rejection rates are increasing. I also get desk rejection. Sometimes in a week I get 2 or 3 papers desk rejected because of one reason. Too many papers from the same country. Some journals don't want too many papers from the same country. So they already have many papers from Malaysia being reviewed. Another paper comes from Malaysia, they say, I will reject this. We are not interested. We are looking for another country. So for targeting purposes, these are some of the questions you can ask before you target. Now, one of them is look at the editor of the journal. Who is the editor of the journal? What is the current scope? Because in some journals, the editor likes like quantitative papers only. They don't like qualitative paper. Okay. Can you cite some research published in that journal in your paper? That's another thing you can do. Okay. And when is the good time to submit? For Western journal, don't submit towards the end of the year or beginning of the year. That's not a good time. So any other time is okay. So look at the journal, look at the scope, look at the editor, maybe the editorial board, because you can also cite some of the papers written by the editorial board, just in case the editorial board becomes your... Okay, before that, that's a question by Jagan. Okay, if the paper is already published, there's no point presenting in a conference, Jagan. That's a complete waste of time to me, because you present at a conference to gather feedback. Okay, once you get the feedback, then only you want to rewrite for a journal. That's a process. Instead of doing the other way around, getting a paper published in journal, then present at a conference. Okay. Do your homework. Pick journals like you pick stocks. Okay. You should have a pool of journals. And this is where earlier I was talking about rising impact factor and higher acceptance rate. Okay. Now the journals provide you with what is the impact factor of the journal and whether it's increasing or not. So I have a dream list. This is what I would suggest. Tadi somebody was asking about journal, right? Targeting journal. I have a dream list which changes. Okay. If your dream list is the same from the time you start until you retire, that's not a dream list. Okay. That's, I don't know, nightmare list maybe. Okay. When I first started, I don't have this kind of journal in my list. There were totally different list of journals in my dream list. But currently, the 2020, I had a list like this. These are some of the journals I've managed to publish. With this International Journal of Information Management, Information and Management, Journal of Knowledge Management, more recently, Telematics and Informatics. This is a journal I've been trying for a long time. I think already almost 20 years. No long. I've been trying this. Most of the time I get rejected. Maybe in the future. This was in 2020. In 2021, these are the dream lists. Okay. Currently, I'm already editorial board member for this journal and this journal. Although I have already published in this journal. I published in this journal. This journal I am trying still, and this is another journal I am trying. The rest of the journals, they are already out of my list. Once I publish in that journal, they are no longer in my list. I look at the other journals not in the list. Okay, this is a journal which is in the middle, right? MIS quarterly. Impact factor not very high. Okay, impact factor not very high. Okay, but this is like a nearly impossible journal. I also tried once. We got that rejected when we submitted. This is a journal I will try again. Maybe in a year or two before I finally retire. I will try again this journal. But you need to have a very good contribution and idea before you try journals like this, okay? Or else it will not even get through the editor's desk, okay? This is what I meant by dream list. Journals in your area that you want to target. So you can start with the top one, and then you cannot get here, right? You can drop to the next one, next one, next one. That's how you progress in terms of the list. I also have an additional list. Some journals that I target because of their impact factors. They have very high impact factors. So I do some research which is outside my area to get into this journal. Tourism management has an impact factor of 10. Business strategy and environment has an impact factor of 10. Corporate social responsibility and environment has an impact factor of 8, right? Okay. These are journals which have high impact factor. That looks good on your CV. Okay. But you should not have more papers published in this additional list as compared to your main list. Okay, my dream list is the one I target. These are additional. Okay, these are additional. Okay. Okay, next we will look at submission strategy. Submission strategy don't always target top journals. If you target top journal, they don't have time for you. You may get desk rejected. Okay, try look at your quality of the paper and then find a suitable journal. One of the strategies is looking at the papers you cite in the references. When you cite a lot of papers from one particular journal, maybe that journal will be a suitable home for your paper. So that's how you decide. For that, we have journal finders. I hope you are aware of these journal finders. We have several journal finders with Elsevier, okay, Web of Science, Wiley, Springer, Taylor and Francis, Journal Guide, IEEE publication, JSTOR, Advance, I think Jane. These are all journal finders, PubMed, Enago. So there's a long list, right? So what you need to do is like this. So I show you one example of Elsevier Journal Finder. How many of you have used this? Yes? No? Okay. Baiklah, pandai sikit. Okay. In the folder that I shared, let me show you the folder. This is the folder I shared. I have given you this search key, number 4, which is a search. So I have given you some abstract that you can try with the journals for Elsevier, for Springer, and so on. So what you need to do is in the starting page of Elsevier Journal Finder, you can copy and paste the paper abstract and the title. Paper abstract and the title. So what will happen is, I like this journal finder called Elsevier. I really like this. The reason is this. When you put in the title, this is the example I give you in the folder. You copy the title and the abstract, and they will give you a long list of journals. And if you see here, there's a bar here, right? When you have 5 bars means very close match. Very close match. 4 bar means they are not so close. Then you have 3 bar, 2 bar, right? Okay. What happens here is they tell you this is the journal which is the closest match for you. Impact factor, this is the impact factor. But the only drawback is the acceptance rate is 9%. So you submit 10 papers, maybe 1 paper will get accepted. Okay. That's how difficult it is. Okay. That's how difficult it is. Computers in human behavior, you have 10%. Same. You submit 10 papers, 1 paper may get. And they also give you time to first decision. 3 weeks, they will decide whether your paper will go to review or reject. Okay? 3 weeks. After that, it may take 1 year, 2 years, depending on the time. So this is why I like this. Okay. So if we go to the next page, you get the journals. Here you see 20%. Here, if you submit 5 papers, maybe 1 paper will be accepted. This is a much more easier journal. Let me tell you. Okay, a much more easier journal. And then we have here. Okay, suddenly you see here, entertainment and computing. Acceptance rate is 46%, which is if you submit 2 papers, 1 will get accepted. So my next target will be this lah. That's how you decide. The acceptance rates are higher, right? Okay. So those are possible ways of targeting. So we can use this journal finder to find the journal. That's what I'm saying. Okay. So even Web of Science has, but Web of Science and all not very good. I think I still prefer Elsevier. So my suggestion for finding a journal, try using Elsevier Journal Finder. Okay. Any question? No. No other question? Okay. Okay. The other strategy of identifying journal, okay, we call it business intelligence. Okay, this is a guy called Mustafa Rasuli Manish. He used to be a PhD student in USM. He used to attend all my workshops. And then every time I do workshop, I tell him, for analysis, we have Smart PLS, we have Bot PLS. what PLS is quite powerful, but not very easy to use, so not many people use. He was actually listening, and then he started using what PLS for his PhD research. And now he's considered one of the big names in WAP PLS. Okay. He was in USM as a postdoc, but USM couldn't pay him well. So he got recruited to Taylor's. Okay. Now he's in Taylor's as an associate professor. And he publishes in some of the top tourism management journals. Okay. And he's also editor of a couple of management journals. So you can look at the kind of topics and the kind of journal he's publishing in. That can also give you an idea where to publish. Okay, where to publish. Yeah. Okay. So I also occasionally look at them to decide. So I publish in this journal. I publish in this journal. This journal also I publish. So I've also published 3 papers with Mustafa when he was a postdoc in USM. So you can also look at other authors in your area, what kind of journals they are publishing in. Some of them are very good at targeting journals which are easier. So instead of you looking for the journal, you can also look at journals already identified by others. Okay. Submitting the paper, there is no way to get experience except through experience. I see some of the older professors, they actually don't have experience submitting to a journal currently. What they were doing is the old way of making a copy of the paper, sending by mail, and then getting it back. Now it is all online. So the process is quite tedious. So before you submit to a journal, what I normally do is I write an email to the editor. If I think, kita panggil was-was, if we think the paper may not suit the journal, you can write an email to the editor asking him whether this paper will be suitable for the journal. Okay, at least you don't do all the formatting and then submit. Tomorrow you get rejected. So you spend a lot of time doing submission and you get rejected. I normally try to do that. But if I think the paper fits the journal, then I don't do that. So those are things you can do. When you submit a paper to a journal, different journal have different requirements. Some journal require these 5, cover letter, author's page, main manuscript, tables, and figures. And you separate the tables into one file, you separate the figures into one file, and in the main manuscript, you tell insert figure 1 here, insert table 1 here. The tables are separate. So if you want to see an example, in the folder I've given you, here you can see a sample. So you have a cover letter, author's page, manuscript, figures, how to divide them. You can look at them. After you have generated this, they will combine them into a PDF, and then you can approve the PDF, then only it goes to review. And many years ago, I had this submission log, since I had many papers being reviewed at the same time. We call it a submission log. When did you submit, to what journal you submitted, and when was the revision. If they are rejected, then that paper will go down, starting you in another journal, right? Okay, that's what you can do. Why this is useful is because when the paper is rejected from the journal, you cannot submit to the same journal. Okay, again, unless you ask for permission. Okay, you ask for permission. Okay. Handling revision is like this. When you send your paper out for review, these are possible reviewers. And if you get a reviewer like this, how lucky I am to receive your no doubt great paper for review. It really made my day. If you get a review like this, then you're okay. But most of the time you don't get reviewers like that. This is a typical reviewer who is trying to shoot the paper down, right? Okay. So what happens is they will try to identify some flaws in the paper, and they give you a review. So if you get a review like this, don't be disheartened. Don't worry. Just forget about it and then move to another journal. Look at the comments. Some comments you can address, you address them, then submit to another journal. Okay, don't have to be frustrated or angry with this rejection. This is a common thing. So I already shared with you my experience of the first paper I submitted, and it took me 5 years to recover. And now when I look back at it, how stupid I was. Okay, you should not. Rejection is a normal thing. Sometimes your paper is good, you get a reviewer who is very tough. They reject the paper because they don't like the paper. That's it. Not because the content is no good. If you get an email from the editor, say revision, you're already there, almost there. The editor will decide to send you a revision if he thinks the paper is publishable. That's all. If he thinks the paper is not publishable, even when you get major revision, they will reject the paper. Okay, that's a choice the editor will make. Okay, and this is actually from a good friend called Marco. He said this. These are the two rules for replying to reviewers. Rule number 1 is the reviewer is always right. And rule number 2, if the reviewer is not right, see rule number 1. The reviewer is always right. Don't get confrontational. Sometimes when you read the review, you become angry, right? You say the reviewer is stupid. He doesn't know anything. Okay, leave the review for 2-3 days. And then when you are more composed, come back and read. Some of the reviews may make sense. So try to address the review. The only time I got upset was with a journal called Journal of Hospitality and Tourism Technology, I think. Okay, I actually wrote a hard reply, and the paper got rejected. But anyway, I tried my luck. So don't be confrontational. Okay, somehow you have to reply in a nice way. These are examples of replying. I think the same folder called this one. Let me show you. In the folder called sample, you have some replies that we have run. Some of our replies are longer than the paper. Okay, the reply to reviewer is longer than the paper. So you can look at this paper, Information and Management. The reply is really, really long. Okay, and Technovation. These two papers, we had a long reply. So you can see how we address some of the concern. And you can see here, this is what we did for a paper called Journal of Business Ethics with my former student. She's now the full professor in my department. Her name is Nur Hazlina Ahmad. She was actually my MBA student. I used to teach her when she was doing MBA. And now I'm reporting to her. She's my colleague. Okay, so we work well together in some projects. So this is a project we worked on in 2012 for a journal called Journal of Business Ethics. If you see on the left hand side is the comment, on the right hand side is the reply. Okay, again, we always try to be nice to the reviewer. We thank the reviewer first, and then we can say we don't agree. Okay, thank you for the comment, great comment, but I think we have a different view, and then you can argue. Not an issue. You don't have to agree with everything, but you cannot disagree with everything. Okay? Then you get into trouble with the reviewer because the reviewer must endorse. Okay? That's how you need to address. You have to be very tactful, very nice with the review when you reply. Okay, for revision in SSCI journal, you may get 3 to 4 revision. Most probably you will not get a paper accepted as it is in a social science citation journal. The only time ever in my career that I have got accepted as it is was a paper we published in Resource Conservation and Recycling. That was because the paper was in review for 2 years and there was no review. And then the editor was very nice to me, and then he decided to accept the paper as it is. That's the only time. The rest of the time, there will be revision. Revision 1, revision 2, revision 3. And the thing you need to do is you need to revise and resubmit, revise and resubmit, revise and resubmit until the paper gets accepted. Okay. Okay. This is a story of one of the papers, one of the journal I was trying for a long time called Industrial Management and Data System. So when people look at the list of publication I have, they think it's very easy. Today I submit, tomorrow I get accepted. It's not true. Okay, let me tell you the story of IMDS. This was a journal I was targeting for a long time. Okay, I think 2009 I started. Okay, you can see here. Okay, 2009 I submitted the paper to this journal called Industrial Management and Data System. Okay, and you see here 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013. I tried this journal 13 times before I got my first paper accepted. From 2009 to 2017, finally I got one paper accepted after 13 papers. The paper number 13 was lucky, and we got a paper accepted in 2017. I was very disappointed because I was looking at papers published in the journal. Some of them are published by Malaysian authors who are much more junior than me. And then I was trying for 12 times, I get rejected. Until I was so fed up. I actually wrote to the editor. See this guy? Lin Bin Shan. Okay, this is the chief editor that I got rejected most. So I wrote an email. Can you become my co-author? He didn't reply. Okay, kita cuba nasib tapi tak berjaya. Okay, so this paper I actually co-wrote with a student from UTM. I was not the supervisor, but I ran a workshop and he attended my workshop and said he actually benefited a lot from the workshop. And the supervisor is this lady, okay, Dr. Aziza, okay, and when he submitted the paper, he submitted me as the second author. I didn't agree, actually. I told him that your supervisor should be the second author, but he said, I have agreement from my supervisor, so I left it at that. I don't like to do that. If it's from your PhD thesis, your supervisor must be after you, okay, not another person. I don't agree with that. I have disagreement about this even with my student. When they work with another person and they want to bypass me and put that person above me, I have problems with that. I don't agree. Okay. If you don't want to put me, it's a different issue. But if you put your supervisor, you have to be, you must have gratitude towards your supervisor, right? So I think the supervisor should be after the author. Okay, that's my agreement on this. But unfortunately, he said I already talked to my supervisor, and my supervisor agreed. So we got this paper published in 2017. Okay, and my PhD student, her name is Stephanie Chua, and she submitted one paper, and within a year she got accepted. You see here, revision 3, and she got accepted. So one paper submitted and one paper accepted, 100% record. I submitted 13 papers before I got one paper accepted. Can you imagine? Okay, a full professor trying for 13 times, a PhD student got published one time. Okay, that's what we call as luck of the draw. Okay, don't be disheartened. Okay, this is a paper that was published in 2018. Okay. Okay, once you get your paper published, next step is to disseminate. We call it post-publication dissemination. This is the part that we are not very good at. We only publish and then forget about it. So we have some post-publication dissemination you can do. One of them is through email. This is an email I got from this person called Dr. Carlos. He published a paper in International Journal of Financial Studies. He's sending me a email saying that this is a paper we published on innovation and competitive intelligence. Maybe you would like to read it. So they are actually telling that this is a paper already published in your area. You can read the paper. So we are trying to disseminate the paper through email. We can also do kudos. This is a website that you can do, but you need to upload your papers, and then you have to write a story, a plain language story, like what is the title, what is it about, why is it important, and perspective. I didn't do this, although I've registered for kudos, but since I already have many papers published, I don't think so I will start, because if I want to write, I have to write a long, big number of papers that is listed here. Okay, the other one is called Publons. This is like the Facebook for researchers. Okay, Facebook for researchers. This is where they will track your citation, they will track your H index, number of papers you publish in Web of Science, and also your reviews. Okay, this is a more recent phenomenon. And if you see here, I've verified reviews that I've done 834 verified reviews in Web of Science alone. We are not talking about Scopus and so on. This is what I mentioned about service to the community, community of research. Many people also observe this when they want to invite you as reviewer, they want to invite you as external examiner. This is where they go and look, which is the Publons. Okay. So this is what I've done last year. For 2021, I did 266 reviews. Okay, 266 reviews just in 2021. So those are things you have to do, and ini kita panggil amal jariah, tak ada bayaran. Okay, you need to do it in your time, the time that you have. So this is one of the things competing for my time. Reviews. I do lots of reviews. 200 review divided by 12 months. In a month, I'm doing about 150 reviews. Okay, that's the number that I'm doing. Okay, 15 reviews a month. 15 reviews a month. Okay. Okay. The other way of disseminating is called ResearchGate. I think I hope you are on ResearchGate. In ResearchGate, what you can do is you can post the abstract. And then another person who reads the abstract, they can request for you. Then you can send to them. And I do that a lot. Okay? And you can also do Facebook. Okay? But you have to be more tactful. Don't start posting every other day. Then people get very upset. When you get a paper published, you can post it here. Okay? But you don't want to do it. You don't want to overdo it. Although I get many papers published, only some papers I post on my Facebook, just in case anybody wants to read. Okay, we also have alt metrics. This is a new thing you can add on to your website, okay, like Google Scholar. So when you're assessing a paper like this, you can click this button called alt metric, and they will tell you some information about who is citing your paper, who is reading your paper, and so on. That will be given in the software called Altmetric. Okay. Yeah. And then you can see who is citing your papers, which part of the world, and so on. So that's Altmetric. Okay. The other thing I've done in my career is this. I have a personal website called www.ramayah.com. www.ramayah.com. This is where I post all the materials related to my research, and also my PhD student and publication. And this is a recent update we have about ranking. So you can look at some of these materials on my website. This is good because when people look for collaboration, when people look for external examiner, reviewer, they actually do Google search, right? So if you have a profile in Google, that's where you can get noticed. Okay, I get a lot of invitation to review for promotion, associate professor and professor, to examine PhD students from Western countries or developing countries, not from Malaysia. I don't get invitation to become external examiner from Malaysian universities, unfortunately. Most of the time I get invitation from Pakistan, from Australia, from France, from UK, not Malaysia. But that's how they find reviewers. Just Google search. So you can also set up this website, personal website. I set this up year 2000. Okay? I bought the web domain name called www.ramayah.com. And every year I maintain the website by paying 500 ringgit to host. The hosting cost me 500 ringgit. The domain cost me 50 ringgit a year. So that's the total amount of investment, 550 ringgit for a year. Okay. And I maintain it on my own now. Previously it was much more difficult because of the HTML. Now there's a software called WordPress that I can update anytime. So this is something you can do. So after you have disseminated all this research, now it's finally time to sit back and relax, and then do some monitoring. What is this? Is look at your profile. Okay, now for monitoring your performance for researchers, we have this AD Scientific Index, where they rank researchers according to areas and also country, by looking at the H index. Okay, so these are the Malaysian scientists ranking for 2022. Number one is a guy from IIUM. Number two is also International Islamic University. Number three is from Sunway. Number four is from USM, who is my TNC R&D, Prof. Rahman. Number five is from UPM. Number six is from Universiti Malaya. I'm now ranked number 7 in Malaysia. And you don't see any other business person in the list. They are all from engineering and technology. And what many people say is people from social science and management cannot compete with the sciences. Totally untrue. Okay, you can see me where I am now. Where I am now. So you should take it as a challenge. Don't believe what they say. They can say whatever they want. They always argue sciences are better than social sciences. But I'm already there with them and above them, right? Okay, so it's not an issue. Okay, so that's something you need to think about. Don't believe everything they say. So this is where they give you a profile, and you can see in USM, I'm number 2 in terms of H index, behind Prof. Rahman. In the last 5 years, I'm number 1. In business and management, I'm number 1. And in the world, number 84. Okay, out of 23,000 people. In the world, out of 880,000 people, I'm ranked 8,000. Okay, that's a big achievement for a social scientist. Again, for a social scientist. So this is what is happening from the work you put in for many years, right? Suddenly they come out with this ranking, and you see where you are. You can compare. We have another ranking called P ranking, where you can actually look at the ranking for different publications. This is for Scopus. This is for ABDC. There's a guy who I find quite interesting called Lim Wang Mak. You can Google search his name. Quite a prolific author. Very young guy from Swinburne. Quite good in terms of the quality of publication. The other one is called research.com. And research.com, you can rank your researchers according to area. And in this ranking, I'm still ranked number 1. And in the world, I'm ranked number 72. So we are already there, top 100, right, in the area. And the closest competitor is a guy called Ui Keng Boon from UCSI. He's number 2 in Malaysia and 185. This is my former colleague from USM, now in Universiti Malaya, called Suhaida. Okay, those are some of the ranking you can look at. No, okay, and we also have this 2% scientists in the world, right? Okay, which is now being one of the tools for advertisement, right? 2%. No, okay. Okay. One of the things I like most is the travels that I made. And during my career, these are the people I have met. This is David Kenny, Joseph Hare, Win Chin, Pritchard and Hayes, Christian Ringler, and Marco Sestet. I used to cite their names in my literature. Now we are good friends. Okay, those are some of the things that you get with your visibility. Okay, the other thing I would recommend is you need to have continuous learning. Okay, this was a workshop I attended on Bayesian statistical modeling in 2020. This will be the future for those who are doing quantitative research. In the future, this will become very important, where you model uncertainty. This was a 3-day workshop. This was a 5-day workshop. This was in US, and the US workshop starts from 9 p.m. Finishes at 5 a.m. For 3 days. I was attending the workshop, and my wife was telling me, "You are crazy. You are so old already, you are still attending workshop at this odd time. But what I wanted to do is I want to know better this new development in research, which is called Bayesian statistics. Okay. Currently, I'm editor of this journal for those who want to publish in Scopus Journal. This is the journal called Journal of Applied Structural Equation Modeling, based in Malaysia. This is the journal based in Malaysia. Any research related to structural equation modeling, you can try submitting here. I'm the chief editor with a guy called Hiram. And these are the editorial board of the journal. Joseph Hare, Christian Ringler, Marco Sastet, all of them are in the journal. So we have a Malaysian journal with a who's who editorial board. Okay. And the second journal I'm chief editor currently is this journal called Asian Academy of Management Journal. I took over in 2021. I revised the entire editorial board. Now the editorial board are all new editorial board that I attended, that I appointed, except for Mariana Sigala. Okay, Mariana Sigala, I've known her for a long time. She's a big name in tourism. Okay, and I've included Joe Hare, Viswanath Venkatesh. We have Yogesh Dwivedi. We also have Richard Bagosi, who is a big name in structural equation modeling in my editorial team now. So we have a Malaysian journal now with the editorial board like who's who in the world. Okay. I also have a guy from NUS. NUS people don't want to be associated with Malaysia, but because I have some interaction with him, he agreed. Professor Margo. Okay. So those are things that happens because of research. And this is a proverb from Zabah. Kekayaan saudagar adalah pada pundi-pundi emasnya. Kekayaan pendeta adalah pada keping-keping kertasnya. So this is a good proverb to think about. And finally, gratitude. This is what I believe in. I'm very thankful to all my collaborators, especially my PhD students. They have put in a lot of work. And I also benefited with from some of the work they did and also some of the works my collaborators did. No? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Okay. Dr. Fatimah. Anything else? Okay.
All right, Prof. Okay, on behalf of everyone here, I would like to thank you for a most interesting presentation. Okay, now I open for the Q&A session. We have a few questions in the chat box, Prof. You have answered a few. From Dr. Hassan, what are the basic requirements for a publishable literature review paper?
Literature review paper a bit more difficult to define. Normally, many people have now started doing what we call as systematic literature review. For systematic literature review, many people have started using a protocol called Prisma. That's a standard, which journal you include, what year to include, what are the keywords, and so on. There's a flow chart, like the paper I presented. If you do like that, then it's much more easier to evaluate. Okay? Rather than the paper I shared about the outsourcing. That paper was written like 12 years ago when we didn't have an idea about Prisma. But that requires a bit more thinking because structuring a paper for literature review, finally you have to tell what did you find that was not available in the literature. That's a challenge for literature review.
All right. From Dr. Jagan, from your view, how ethical is?
Tadi saya dah jawab dah.
Oh, okay. All right. So I think
that one is you go to conference and then you get feedback, you enhance the paper, you publish in a journal. Bukan you publish in a journal, then you go and present in a conference. I think that's the other way around to me.
So do we have any other question from the floor?
Okay, tadi Ryan tanya the good impact I already gave you. So you can see in the folder I gave you here under the indexing list. I've summarized this is the one that you can look at for all journals in SSCI and SCI. Okay, the first one. Here we have extracted for business and finance, business, computer science, education, ethics, hospitality, management, and operation management. Those are the main fields normally I work in. So you can look at this. So if you are in business, you can open this business list, right? Okay, and you will see these are the journals which are from Q1 up to Q4. So you can pick which journals you want. Okay. Okay, I've also given you this some of the papers I've written here. This folder, you can look at papers written in different journals. And there's a folder called reference article. This is a very good folder for you to look at for guidance about research. Okay, guidance about research. It starts from number 0 up to 442. It has most of the things you need. Guidance about theory, guidance about independent variable, dependent variable, moderating variable, mediating variable, different tools, techniques. Most of the papers are already here. I think up to yesterday, I think I updated them. So you can start looking at some of these papers. But somehow you have to read. Okay. One of the problem is many people don't like to read. Dr. Fatimah.
Alright, okay. I think we have no other question. Okay, thank you very much, Prof. Ramayah, for addressing this interesting topic. Okay, hopefully what Prof. Ramayah has shared today will be a guide for us to continue to provide the best for the university. On behalf of PPBI, I would like to thank you for joining us today and thank you for your attention. Thank you again, Prof. Okay, before we end our session, we will have a photo session. Okay, everyone, please open your camera. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Alright, Dila, tolong ambil gambar ya. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. Okay, once again. 1, 2, 3. Okay, alright. Thank you, everyone.
Okay,
Thank you so much,
Take
Prof.
care. Yeah.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you all.